Des Moines and all of Central Iowa, welcome to Mac's World Live. Mac's World is your world. Every day we talk about the issues and topics that matter most to you. And as always, it's your voice we want to hear in Mac's World. So join the conversation by calling 515-244-0077. And now, here's the host of Mac's World Live, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, welcome and good afternoon. It's 7 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock. On the fourth day of November in the Lord's year 2015, I'm J. Michael McCoy. Welcome to MaxWorldLive.com. I have a plethora of co-hosts in the studio today, which is a good thing because I am borderline catching a terrible cold. And here's what's interesting. So I got up a little bit after 4 o'clock this morning. 4:07 was my time. And I felt no congestion. I felt no cold. I had no cough. I had nothing. By the time I got out of my men's Bible study at 8 o'clock, so 4 hours later, I am sneezing and sniffling and just all over the place. So I went and bought drugs. And I got some stuff to help my throat, too. Frank, you're the only one that got that.
I wasn't sure if I was going to rim shot or what.
Oh. So I got this stuff called Air something.
Oh, Airborne, yeah.
Airborne.
Uh-huh.
The chewable gummies.
Sure, yeah.
And then I got some Sudafed.
Wow.
And so I've had 4 Sudafed. Since 10 o'clock this morning, I've had 4 Sudafed and 3 gummies, 3 Airborne gummies.
Wow.
So I'm not doing much better. So you guys are going to have to talk more today, which shouldn't be hard.
My dad's old prescription for that was when you first feel it coming on, a stiff shot of whiskey. But in your case, you can't do that.
Well, I can. It's not a big deal. But what we used to do as radio guys, and only you guys have been around for a long time, Larry Moffat and I used to come up with the morning man's cough medicine.
Sure.
And it was 2 parts orange juice, 1 part Jack Daniels or whiskey or bourbon or whatever I wouldn't use a clear liquor. I'd use a carameled liquor. And you put it in the microwave for 30 seconds or whatever it is, it's not boiling yet, but it's warm, and then you gargle with it. And then, of course, we'd swallow it, because why not? Why waste a good shot of whatever? But it really did. The alcohol and the vitamin C really got into your throat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, and I have to be here tomorrow because I have a very important guest on in the 4 o'clock hour. The young man who drowned in the Lake of the Ozarks when his arms were, or when his hands were handcuffed by the State Patrol people. You remember this? And he sunk to the bottom?
Yeah. In Missouri?
Yeah. I can't think. Edelson. Anyway, his dad's, for the first time, going to come on and talk about this. He's not talked about it yet. So I got to be here tomorrow. So I might have you guys fill in a little bit more today. All right. So 4 o'clock hour, I've got Family First, or First Family of Ankeny, their pastor, Todd Stiles, and we're going to talk about family and his book. And he's passionate about family. I mean, that's his whole church thing is about family. And I think you know this, but long before Todd took a part in the radio station, I've known Todd because my daughter and my oldest daughter and her husband and her family have gone to First Family since I think the beginning.
Right. He said today at Testify that they'd been going there for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
And First Family started small, and
Very
has
small.
has exploded over the years. And that's really where Todd's passion is, not just family as we think mom and dad, sister, brothers, things like that, but really spiritual family too, the importance of a good church family where you can grow. He shared a little bit of that today at Testify. By the way, the next Testify meeting, it's the first Wednesday of every month. The next Testify meeting is December 2nd. So go ahead and mark your calendars and plan to attend. It'll be Christmas themed. And as I announced today, I have the spiritual gift of receiving. So if you like giving gifts, I like receiving gifts.
Yeah, and I need to get a hold of the Black family or Nathan Thomas from Berean and see if either one of those or maybe both would come in for that, and let's just sing some Christmas carols.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I want to read the Christmas story out of Luke.
Yeah.
And so I hope that's what's going to be our Testify for December. If you don't know what Testify is, it's part of the Christian Business Network here in Des Moines. And one time a month, we actually get together and we network. And we do speed networking. So you've got all these people sitting on one side of a table, long tables put together. And then you've got a bunch of people on the other side of the table. And the bell rings, and they each get like 2 minutes to tell about their business. And then when the bell rings again, one table moves to the left and the other table stays where it is. And so you constantly have this opportunity to speed network with other people. It's kind of fun, to be honest with you. So we'll be announcing the next date of that one. That'll probably be like the third Thursday of January. So third Thursday in December, I think, is almost Christmas.
Right.
What is Christmas this year? Is it a Thursday?
25th.
Friday? Oh, thanks, Russ. You're a rocket scientist, man. I don't know what I'd do without you. No, look it up, Bob. See what day of the week. I think Christmas Eve is maybe Saturday or maybe it's Friday. I don't remember.
We'll look it up.
All right. We're going to talk about the awesome, godly people of Knoxville, Iowa, in this program. Yesterday, if you were listening, we talked about the fact that there were the mayor and 2 city council people called I'm going to call it unprecedented. I've heard from some people down in Knoxville, no, it was public. They knew it. Everybody knew it was coming along. But they positioned it right on the night before the elections. And they voted to remove the war memorial and the cross made by Al Lorenz in honor of his buddy that died in Vietnam. Al himself is a Purple Heart recipient. And the guy that kind of helped him and saved his life and pulled his butt off the Army field and got him to the Army hospital, MASH or whatever you want to call it. The next day, that guy was killed and shot and killed. And Al never got the opportunity to thank him, so he made this memorial for him. And it's been sitting in, I think it's Lions Park in Knoxville for some time. And the, I don't know who it is, the anti-Christian Americans United for the Separation of Church and State. You know, I got to tell you that, and I'm the one that added the anti-Christian because it's anti-Christian. They are working for a separation of church and state. Well, we already have a separation of church and state.
Right. I said that off the air on yesterday's program to Bob. I leaned over and said, it's really ridiculous that you have to have an organization in the United States of America advocating for the separation of church and state, which our whole country was established on the idea that there would be no established church or state religion.
Right.
In fact, America exists because there was an established state religion in Europe, still is the case, and they wanted to get away from that. So how misinformed do you have to be?
Low information voter.
To start an organization to say, you know what, we're going to be for the separation of church and state when it's already established. It's clear that organization doesn't understand what that phrase really means. And I would say, though, interestingly enough, Mac, if you research this, one of the founding members of this organization is a self-proclaimed Christian.
Really?
Yes.
Well, he's probably the only one proclaiming that then, my guess is.
Well, if I'm thinking of if someone knows, they can correct me. Of course, always the phones are open, 515-244-0077. But, I believe that is the organization. And I've heard the man speak that he, even as a believer, doesn't want any established religion in the public sphere.
Well, we don't have an established religion in the public sphere. That's
right.
What blows. And what just angers the living tar out of me is that the church has allowed this to happen. I mean, the church should have stood up years ago and said, whoa, whoa, whoa. That cross in a public park is perfectly acceptable as a memorial to a dead soldier.
A couple of house cleaning.
Frank's pointing out the phone. Is that the most ironic thing?
He really gets so
I was
excited.
relentlessly pounded yesterday for missing a call, and that certain young lady called in today and said she disagreed with Mac on this position, and I encouraged her to call back. I hope that's her. But Bob said Christmas is on Friday this year.
Yay!
And Gary called yesterday and wanted me to mention to Mac that as much money as we gave to Iran in the nuclear deal, we should have got our hostages out.
Well, but Obama's an idiot. I'm sorry. Is that disrespectful after 7 years to call this man an idiot? I think he's earned it. Well, I do. I mean, he's president of the United States. That means he's anything but untouchable. He should be the most touchable person in the government. He's the one that promised. He's the one that promised transparency.
Right. Oh. Wasn't that a joke?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the biggest joke?
He's as transparent as a glass of mud, so let's get it right here.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the phones where Pierre is standing by. Pierre, you're live in Mac's World. How you doing this afternoon?
Hey, Mac. I'm doing great. And I've been following this monument or memorial. I like to call it a memorial in the park. As you know, I'm pagan. I'm not Christian.
Yep.
But my personal opinion is I think it's great. I don't think there should be any problem with this, because what that memorial does is it's memorializing the sacrifice that our men and women have given. I mean, yes, the cross is a symbol to Christianity for religious purposes, but the cross is also a symbol of what people have done. You see them you go across, graveyards everywhere. There's crosses. You look at the military grave.
Yeah.
There's crosses. It is just a thing of respect for people that what they've given their lives for our country.
And Pierre and I have had many conversations over the years, and I always say this to Pierre, and he laughs at it. I'm so thankful he laughs at it. But Pierre's one of the best Christian non-Christians I've ever met. I mean, if there's any guy that deserves eternity just because of the way his heart is, it's Pierre. But you choose your own deal.
That's right.
You know when the hound of heaven comes knocking, cowboy, I'm right here for you, and I'll do whatever I can.
I know. We can agree to disagree.
That's all right. We can. All right, Pierre, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. Always enjoy hearing from you.
You bet. Thanks.
Well, I was going to say thanks, Pierre, for calling in, of course, because I just referenced your post on Mac's Facebook wall earlier today.
And is that his post?
That's his post, yeah. And to be honest, I agree with Pierre to a degree. Obviously, as a Christian, I think the cross is more than just a symbol of death and sacrifice. But he's absolutely right that to many in America, and to many Western culture, in the Western culture, the cross is a symbol just of sacrifice in a general sense. And this shouldn't be seen as an overtly religious symbol in the Western world.
Right.
This is a very common symbol.
We're going to take a break. We're coming back live here on The Truth.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Welcome. 21 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock, 4th of November in the Lord's year, 2015. I want to say hello to a friend of mine's dog who is at the vet today getting shots. Her name's Booby, and I just want to thank her and her owner for, taking good care of your dog. All right. 244-0077. That's the number. You can call in, and we do want to hear from you. So here's what happened. Carolyn Formanak and April Viewers, I'm not saying that right. It's V-E-R-W-E-R-S, Viewers, both lost their council seats last night. In fact, they lost them by a pretty wide margin.
That's in Knoxville.
This is in Knoxville, yes. And the mayor retained his seat. Excuse me. And I don't think that would have happened had Doug Golf, who was on our show with us, had not been a write-in. If he had been actually on the ballot, but he didn't get on the ballot in time.
Was the mayor of Knoxville running then unopposed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that must have been.
He got 93% of the vote.
Yeah, he had to have been. Which apparently, the way Doug was talking is, it's good that the others have been removed because, as you pointed out yesterday, Mac, there in Knoxville, it was a 3-2 vote, so we really only needed one seat change, and we got 2 seat changes. So that's very promising for Knoxville. But I have to echo this and say again, the thing that moves me so much about this thing in Knoxville is throughout America right now, the ideas that concern religious liberty. You've got bakers and photographers and all these kinds of things being sued. We think of the Gord's Haas, Dick and Betty. You know, what's happening to them has been one business owner against this LGBT movement, this mass movement. In Knoxville, you had the exact opposite in a sense, where you had one person who complained.
If even anybody complained.
If he complained. And then you had 3 city council people who were on the opposite side, clearly, yesterday proved it, on the opposite side of the community of Knoxville.
Right.
That's the upsetting thing to me. If this was like one cross in a town where no one believed, there weren't Christians, and this was offensive to the majority of the people, that's a different story.
Did you say 3 or 2?
There were 3. 3 city council, or 2 city council people and the mayor voted. So the mayor was part of the 3. So it was 3 votes, right?
Right,
so
but they did have 3 winning candidates.
Oh, they did?
They did have 3 winning candidates.
But again, I just think that, everything about this Knoxville event, I think, should be something that encourages us, Mac. I know I'm kind of cutting you off here, but we should take encouragement in this to know that the people's voices in some places in the United States can still be heard.
Frank?
I posted on your post. I didn't have much to say on it, but I did post after reading some of the people who had posted. I said, I'm really amazed that the left allows the right to breathe in public space. I'm shocked. And then I said, well, oops, I shouldn't say that because I don't want to give them any new ideas since they haven't had one for decades.
Well, Rick Kingery, James Lane, and Cal Stevens all were the winning candidates. All 3 of them beat the former, the ones that were already on the council, Formanek and Viewers. The 2 of them only took 29, not even 30%, and the other 4 took up the other 70%. So it was clearly a win. It is truly, I'll tell you what really made this thing happen, a lot of it, was Doug Golf's work on the social media. They had a social media page by the name of Stop the Insanity, okay? And they had 2,769 followers in the course of the last couple months. That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people. And what we looked up yesterday, Bob, right? It was 7,251, 7,200 people in Knoxville. I mean, that's 2,000 people. It's not a small figure.
But we also have the issue with people trying to force people to take stuff down on private property. Mac's got an ongoing issue with his neighbors over a cross he wants to display.
Right.
And, there's people who take exception to flying the American flag on private property. Certain neighborhood restrictions on that. So they're not just after the public square. They're after world domination.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. And again, I'm glad now I have the opportunity in this radio program and this platform to speak up. But where were my brothers and sisters in broadcasting in the church 20 years ago when they started pulling this crap.
You know what I will say? I will shake a finger at myself. Okay? This is Chris Roloff is shaking a finger at himself. It's a silly thing to do. But do you know where we were? We were hung up on who's going to be the next president of the United States. That's where we were hung up. Because right now, what the thing in Knoxville needs to tell the conservative Christians, the Christians in our communities, is we need to be actively involved in local community politics, because that's really where this thing shouldn't have even come to the surface in Knoxville had the Christians elected people that represented their true values. And the reality is, when you look at the ballots, when you look at who normally turns out for these local community elections, the one that just happened yesterday, the turnout is tiny. But everybody knows what Donald Trump is doing. Everybody knows what Donald Trump had for lunch. People know how Ben Carson's doing in the polls because it's attractive. It gets people excited. We all want to talk about that, and the church wants to talk about that, and the church wants to talk about the Planned Parenthood issue, and these are all good issues, and I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about them, but there are real decisions going on in our neighborhoods that affect our real money, like the state board elections. That's real tax dollars, things that are going on in our community, and are we vetting those people as much? Do we care in those arenas? And I say that's where the church has failed. We stopped caring about local politics and got really excited about the national stuff, I think.
244-0077, it is your voice I want to hear this afternoon in Mac's World.
As a point of interest, Quinnipiac released a poll yesterday that said Ben Carson beats Hillary in a one-on-one election by 10 points.
Wow, that'd be nice.
And Trump loses to her by, according to the same poll, 3.
No, that's not true.
Rubio beats her, and Carson beats her.
So, Frank, what neighborhood do you live in?
I live on the northeast side of town.
How did the elections go last night for your neighborhood?
I have no idea.
He would be Des Moines City Council.
The Des Moines City Council. But you know what's going on the national front.
Sure.
So I'm not trying to put you in a box here. I'm just saying, Frank, I would be in the same boat with you. The reality is I know what's going on a national level, and I get really excited about those things. But what's going on a local level, I realize we're missing the boat. And the Knoxville event should be a wake-up call to all of us to say, you know what, the people running our communities, we don't know who they are, and they're going to make the decisions to say that you have to take down that cross in your neighborhood, and that's where it really starts. The president, Barack Obama, is not going to come to my house and say you need to take that cross down, but a local city council person is going to do that, and Christians don't care about that stuff. And we should, though, Mac, right? Don't you agree?
Yes, absolutely. We've dropped the ball. We've somehow ignored the Jesus who called out the Pharisees and called out wrong and got mad at his own disciples. We only think that Jesus got mad once, and that was when he turned the tables in the temple. But Jesus was like, he was a bad guy in many ways. He was a rebel.
He was stern.
Yeah.
He was direct. I don't think that he just said, "Oh, that's okay, honey. Bless your heart. That's just fine."
Right.
Then. No, I just don't. I don't think he did that. And I agree with you, Max. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Now let me one more thing, and then Russ, and then I'll let you talk. No, go ahead. You go ahead first. You're my guest.
Well, my only comment was talking about what Chris had said. People ought to get involved. My whole thing is that the average Christian should be voting for Christian reasons or by Christian principles, and not that the guy's a Democrat or a Republican.
That's right.
If the church, the Christians, would vote for Christian issues, we wouldn't have near the problems we have in this country today.
Absolutely.
I agree with you 100%.
We wouldn't have abortion if the Catholic Church would vote with the Catholic. And I'm just talking about the Catholics. If they would vote their denomination and their beliefs, we would not have abortion in this country.
Amen.
Amen is right. Now, let me give you were talking about people voting. Almost 27% of Knoxville residents voted. 27%. In Windsor Heights, 3.
Yeah. There you go.
3% in Windsor Heights.
Yep.
Compared to 27% in Knoxville. So this is a case where the Christians came out in small town Iowa and made a difference.
So 3% is making the rules?
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
In Windsor Heights. And I bet you that percentage is fairly accurate in any community. I live in Urbandale.
You bet.
look, man, I didn't even know where to go. I went to the library. I think I saw something about where I'm supposed to. I mean, I'm waving the finger at myself. Well, this is not a waving the finger at somebody else. I just realized this is where we need to. It's not as exciting though. You know what I mean? It doesn't get the news coverage. It doesn't get exploded out on the media what's going on in Urbandale, right? But it's important. It should be important to me because that's where I'm going to raise my family.
Presidential elections only barely reach 50%.
Yeah, I wish we could fix that. But, now we get into voter fraud and we get into Acorn and all the other ways that
And, of course,
the people
Obama's
cheat.
mandatory voting.
Huh? Obama's
idea of mandatory voting.
Well, you put Obama on that, and that makes me uncomfortable. But Chris, am I wrong in saying that there should be a consequence if you don't vote?
There is.
Well,
but you know what I mean.
Wait a minute. No, but I was going to say no, there shouldn't be a consequence if you don't vote. But I think what Frank, is getting at is if we don't vote, we get what's coming to us. I mean, if we don't participate, it's like, look, the Knoxville people showed out in great numbers, and I applaud them heavily. But let's be honest, they let those other folks get elected the first time.
Right.
Now, obviously, they didn't know, that they would be against something like this. But did they properly vet them, right? This is a term that I learned when I came to Iowa, vetting politicians. Do we consider who our city council people are? Do we know them? Do we know if they go to church? Does that matter to us?
I think in the case of Knoxville, I think what you had here is you had city officials. You had a mayor and a city council that were in a lose-lose situation. Because if they didn't vote the way they did, they were going to have a massive lawsuit from a huge national organization that would outspend them 10-1 on lawyer bills. So if you're just sitting on the city council, and you love Jesus, you go to church, but you also have a responsibility to your community, and I don't want to have Knoxville spend $1 million and then lose $1 million. I'm just going to vote to move it. And they were just going to move it across the street. I mean, I don't think it should be moved at all, but I don't really think we had the devil so much working on that other side. Well, we know we had the devil working on the other side, but I don't think we had anti-Christian people.
Or people that were necessarily being malicious.
Correct.
On the city council in Knoxville that were saying, I'll show these Christians.
Right.
They were making the decision the best they knew how. But I think that if you had outspoken evangelicals, I think they may have gone a different way just on principle, maybe.
Yeah. Some of the feedback that I got on the phone on the topic was that disagreed with Mac was the idea that they have no issue with the cross in per se. It was the idea to boycott the chiropractor, that you weren't a Christian if you didn't boycott.
Right. Let's put some context to what you're saying there, Frank. Mac yesterday said that we needed to vote with our dollars because one of the city council is actually one of the city council woman. Her husband is a chiropractor in Knoxville, and yesterday Mac said, "Well, let's demonstrate how we really feel by if you're a client of this chiropractor, not go there anymore."
Yeah,
and that was.
And I hate doing stuff like that, but I saw what they did to Betty and Dick. They put their dream out of business by boycotting them and making people who came and ate there or went there feeling foolish and shamed. So if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander.
But that chiropractor is not part of that group that wanted to sue?
Yes, he is part of the group that wanted to have it remain there. Okay, we're coming back.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Homs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed right or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
All right, 22 minutes before the top of the hour, 4 o'clock, Salem Radio Network News. And then we're coming back after the 4 o'clock hour with Pastor Todd Stiles from First Family, and we're going to talk about families. I apologized at the top of the show. I really shouldn't be here today. I'm weak and I'm sick, and so I apologize for any noise that may come out of my body while we're sitting here. All right, let's get to some other news that I think is important. You know, liberal newspapers like the Des Moines Register. No, but let me back up. Des Moines Register is a liberal rag, and if you've ever had to face them or been at the end of their wrath, you would know what I'm talking about. And I'm glad you don't. I'm glad you say, well, Mac, that's a little out of line. I mean, it's a newspaper. They're our local newspaper. They're award-winning. They're a local rag, all right? And if you get on the wrong end of them, there's no escaping them. They will not print the truth. They'll print what they want. I know that personally. So does Governor Branstad. Now, I remember when the story broke that Governor Branstad was being sued because he was closing 2 state mental health centers. Now, I don't know if anybody in here takes the Register. Every day I read it. And it was just pound, 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 pound. Well, I bet you won't see this headline. I bet you won't see this above the fold headline. And if it is, I'll apologize. Polk County District Judge Douglas Steckel issued a ruling today that approved a request by the state attorneys to throw out the lawsuit. There is no more lawsuit against Governor Branstad. The suit was filed by the head of Iowa's largest public employees union and 20 Democratic lawmakers. It claimed that closing the centers in Clarinda and Mount Pleasant were illegal because Iowa law requires the state to operate them. Yesterday's ruling says Branstad had the authority to veto financial support for such centers. Mark Hedberg, an attorney representing the lawmakers and the president of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, says he will appeal the ruling. Great, Mark. Just keep collecting that cash there, cowboy. You know what you get when you get 6 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean? Good start. So, we'll just see how that's covered in tonight's news and tomorrow. Let's just see.
A couple of the people who was doing most of the yelping was one of your friends, Jack Hatch, and one of my friends, Ed Fallon. And I asked Jack on Ed Fallon's show if he agreed with the rule of law, and he said exactly, and he thought Branstad thumbed his nose at the rule of law. And then I said, well, then obviously you also agree that Obama thumbing his nose at the rule of law with his telephone and his pin, otherwise known as the balcony and the bullhorn.
Yeah, and of course they won't say that because they're hypocritical. Hardee's over on 87th and University, basically 86th and University by the car wash, has a new drive-in window. A vehicle crashed through the Metro restaurant this morning.
Oh, no.
It was reported about 9:45. Police and medics were called to the scene. Structural damage was reported. Damage estimate for the restaurant, we don't know it. It remains open. The driver, Thomas Blackett, told police he felt his vehicle surging forward and the brakes didn't seem to work. He suffered knee pain but is okay, and the crash remains under investigation. I've always thought, because Bebops, they have a dual drive-through. Why can't everybody? But, that's the story. All right. You know what human trafficking is? Everybody know what that is?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Big bust in Osceola yesterday. 6 people. Well, actually, it was early this morning. 6 people have been arrested and charged with human trafficking. Osceola Chief Martin Duffs said the sting was conducted by his department and the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation. That would be your old group, right, yep. Bob? The Iowa Division of Intelligence and the Clark County Sheriff's Office. 3 other departments, including the Iowa State Patrol, assisted in the investigation. 6 people were taken to the Clark County Law Enforcement Center, and I've got their names. They're from Afton. They're from Des Moines. They're from Des Moines, West Des Moines, Des Moines, and Des Moines. And charges are prostitution, possession of paraphernalia while driving barred, and prostitution. So these 6 people were trying to get other people to join. They kidnap them and put them into human trafficking.
You know who else deals in human trafficking?
No.
Planned Parenthood.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. All right. The other thing that I wanted to talk about before we get into the next break is the family of an unarmed Des Moines man who was fatally shot by a police officer has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the city. Bollinger family alleges that Officer Vanessa Miller deprived Ryan Keith Bollinger, 28, of his constitutional rights after shooting him through his squad car window the night of June 9th. The Bollinger's attorney, Brett Beatty, of the Beatty Law Firm, filed the suit in U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Iowa on Wednesday. Now, here's why I read this. Because you and I, the taxpayers, this is called green mail. What you say, Mac? You've heard of blackmail, where I come to you and say, I'm gonna tell people what I know about you, Chris Roloff, unless you pay me off. Well, there's no way that this officer did anything incorrect. But remember, a wrongful death suit does not have, I'm trying to think of the term. I'm sorry. In a court of law, you have... Beyond a reasonable doubt? Beyond a reasonable doubt. Thank you, Frank. He really is smart.
He is.
You have beyond a reasonable doubt. And there can be a lot of evidence against somebody for doing what this officer is accused of doing. But in a criminal case, it's right or wrong. Well, the police investigation said that she didn't do anything wrong. But when you get to a wrongful death, what was that called again?
Beyond reasonable doubt.
That's out the window.
And then
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's out the window. When you sue someone personally for their actions in the death or whatever against someone else, it's not a yes or no, up or down, guilty, not guilty. It's how guilty was she? Well, maybe she's only 1% guilty. So the family then gets a payout because of that.
I think that term is by preponderance or preponderance. It's as Judge Wapner used to say on People's Court, it's just if you can tip the balance of the scales farther in one way than the other. So it's not a higher standard of...
Right. And so what's going to happen here, this family is going... Because this guy in this car rolled up and tried to hit her, took the officer and kind of cornered her, and she had nowhere to go, so she shot him and killed him. Now, in a court of law, she's innocent. right? But in a personal suit, in a wrongful death lawsuit, they'll find that she had something to do with his death. It doesn't matter what he was doing. It doesn't matter what the guy... He could be sitting there with a gun to her head, and she pulled the trigger first, and she can be found guilty of wrongful death.
So that's under the civil law, right?
That's the civil law. That's not a state law or anything like that. And so what happens is this Bollinger family, and I don't know these people. I don't know them from Adam, so I'm just talking about the case here. This Bollinger family, this lawyer probably came along and said, Brett Beatty said, I can get you some money. Now, you better believe Beatty's going to get 30, 40, 50% of whatever the city pays. And the city will eventually have to pay. I'll guarantee you and I are going to sit here one day, read the story about how this family was awarded $1 million or whatever it is, a ridiculous amount of money. And whose money is that? That's ours. Because of the way the laws are written. You should not be able to go in and find somebody guilty in any way, shape, or form of wrongful death when they have been cleared legally. Once again, this is where the lawyers get the legislator to make laws. Wrongful death. Wrongful death. So the officer was cleared by the law that her actions were correct. So how do they later on find that she's guilty of wrongful? I don't get that.
In court, that would be called double indemnity.
Yeah, right. But we allow it. We've also had a shooting out in California. 5 students have been stabbed at a University of California campus. We'll give you more details on that and back to the Knoxville situation. 244-0077. That's the number you can call. It's your voice we want to hear right here in Mac's World on The Truth 99.3.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ten minutes before the top of the hour. Here live on Mac's World Live on 99.3 The Truth, 4th day of November. In the Lord's year 2015. Pastor Todd Stiles from First Family Church in Ankeny is next. We're going to talk about families. Something we all have. We're all involved in families one way or another. Maybe it's not a blood family. Maybe it's your small group and they're your family. Maybe it's some kids at church that you've quote-unquote adopted. Obviously not really adopted, but you've adopted. And you've asked them to please come and you've come alongside this couple and said, hey, we'd like to be there for you. That's family. So how do we deal with these family situations? That'll be with Pastor Todd Stiles coming up. Did you just shut my door?
Yes.
I had that open for air.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, pardon me.
Thank you. Go ahead and open it back
All
up
right.
again. Thank you. We told you this was a transparent show. All right, 5 students have been stabbed at the University of California, Merced, the school announced via Twitter. The suspect was shot by police and later died. The victims sustained their injuries in front of a classroom and office building. Campus had been closed. The classes were canceled. Situation under control. 2 stabbed were transported for treatment via helicopter. All conscious. The school tweeted about the victims. Campus is on lockdown. School is scheduled to hold a press conference at, it'll be 6 o'clock our time. And CNN's Michael Martinez contributed to the report from Los Angeles. So here's what I don't know. How come?
Well,
Why?
if we had better, stronger laws against knives.
Absolutely. It's time for knife control.
Yeah.
What can we do? I mean, what do we need to do on knives?
Ban them.
We need to ban them, right? Right? And if we can't ban them, then we need to everybody who buys a knife needs to have a mental illness check.
And you have to register them.
You have to register the knives.
And you probably have to go to plastic, too.
Yeah, and the law says, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a legal length in a knife and there is an illegal. Yeah. Okay, let me tell you what happened to me once. And I'm not proud of this, but it is what it is. So when I had my OWI, okay, I had my chef's knives. Have you guys ever seen chef's knives? They roll themselves up. They come out in a tube. But I had like I suppose 8 different knives that you would have for doing different type of work in the kitchen because I'm a trained chef. Well, when I was arrested for OWI, I was also arrested for what?
Concealed weapons?
Concealed weapon. Illegal weapon. Now, Russ, if you don't know me and you don't know the situation, and you open the Des Moines Register and J. Michael McCoy is arrested for having a concealed weapon, what do you think?
You were carrying a concealed gun.
Yeah. Or something even more outrageous.
Right.
Do you think they ever corrected it? That the police later found that they were just his chef's knives, which, of course, are over the limit in some cases because you're filleting fish, you're filleting fine seafood, you're cutting fat and veins out of beef. I mean, these knives are specialty knives. A good set of knives for a chef are $1,200, a couple $100 a knife. And if you've ever sold Cutco or bought it, you know that's reasonable. But no, do we know about this crime? No, we don't know why they were stabbed. So I agree. Let's ban. Oh, and where are the liberals wanting to ban knives? Have you heard the outrage?
That's next.
I mean, Barbara Boxer, this is California. What's the woman's name that you like so well, who's the head of the Senate or whatever?
Pelosi?
Yeah, why aren't they outrageously crying for a ban on knives?
Right. Maybe it's coming. We have to watch tonight.
Coming.
Well, more people have been slaughtered by the blade of all varieties than were probably ever killed by a gun. If you go back through history, I think you'll find that mathematically true. Mm-hmm. Guillotine, sword, hatchet,
right?
Etc.
Well,
broadaxe.
If it was only a knife-free zone.
Absolutely. We need a knife-free. In fact, the whole country should be a knife-free zone. Because if we didn't have now, does that include Fleming's? Do they have to make the steak so tender that I can cut it with a butter? Oh wait, that's a knife. Hold on.
Cut it with a fork.
Have to cut it with a fork. But you know what? Forks could be considered knives. There's 4 little prongs there. Sharpen the baby at the ends of those up. They're better than a shark's tooth. Yes, I'm being sarcastic. Yes, I'm being silly, as my grandmother would say. Why am I doing this? And why is Bob participating and Russ participating and Frank participating? Because this is what the liberals, every time there's a gun shooting, we need to ban all guns. We need to have background checks. We need to have mental illness checks. Guns are ruining America. They're killing people. No, people. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. My spoon at McDonald's does not make me fat. But if I eat 4 Big Macs a day, God knows I love them because they're named after me, right? 2 all-beef patties, special sauce. I couldn't even do it anymore, Frank. 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. They make me fat, but if I happen to cut them with a knife or cut them with, there we go back to knives again. Cut them with a fork or a spoon, then they're the reasons I'm fat, right?
You're pointing out liberal insanity, and please don't give them any fresh ideas because, like I said, they haven't had any for decades.
Well, that's because they're just out of ideas. All right, back to the Knoxville thing, just to wrap it up. We sure appreciate Doug Golf, who was on the write-in candidate for the mayor. He did not win, but Doug said on Facebook today that he's just okay with not being mayor. What he's glad is that those two people that voted against that memoriam in the park were voted off the city council. And they were very popular. They were good city council people. They probably absolutely would have been reelected had they not denied God in the public place. Here's the message that I want us to ponder as the church. If these 2,500 people in Knoxville, Iowa, could raise enough havoc to get two people ousted out of a city council, small town city council, then don't you think as a church it's time that we step up and start talking about this stuff? Do you think we ought to just, forget about the prosperity gospel and leave that up to Joel Osteen on television on Saturday night? And why don't we start preaching all four corners of the gospel? Why don't we preach the whole continent of the gospel? Everything. And then maybe, just maybe, big expensive lawyer firms out of Washington, D.C. who want to take away our First Amendment rights will go away because they're up against God and not some city council people.
It sounds like Christians should be barbarians.
We should. John the Baptist was a barbarian. 8 of the 12 disciples were barbarians. Who were barbarians? It's not I will be back. What's his name? Arnold. It's not Arnold. That's not what a barbarian is. A barbarian were the people that refused to live under Jewish law. They refused to live under Gentile lack of law. They lived on the outskirts of town, sometimes better than the people inside town. And they just said, leave us alone. Somehow barbarians have got a bad name. Read the book, The Barbarian Way. If you want to read a good book, go to King's Christian Bookstore in Boone and buy The Barbarian Way. It will change the way you look at the disciples, and you will realize that what we think of were a bunch of just followers. These guys were rebels. They knew what they were doing, and they knew who they were following. All right, speaking of following, he's next. Pastor Todd Stiles, First Family Church. The family is number one. How can you make your number one family in God's eyes? It's next, live on The Truth.